There are some places so legendary that they become synonymous with their own destruction, like Pompeii, for instance, or the Great Library of Alexandria. But none, perhaps, capture the imagination quite like Atlantis. Atlantis, a city said to be more advanced than any civilization of its time. Described by the philosopher Plato over 2,000 years ago, Atlantis was a mighty empire that vanished beneath the sea in a single day and night of catastrophe. So what really happened to this mythical place? Did it ever exist in the first place? And could there still be traces of it out there somewhere waiting to be found? The story of Atlantis is one that's captured the minds of historians, explorers, and treasure hunters alike for centuries. And today, we want to add our 2 cents to the ongoing conversation. What was Atlantis, and where is it now? Atlantis, if you've been living under a rock, is said to have been an island nation located in the Atlantic Ocean. According to Plato, Atlantis was a place of wisdom and enlightenment, home to a race of people who were far ahead of their time. They were said to have been great astronomers, mathematicians, and philosophers, and they had a deep understanding of the natural world around them. However, their hubris led to their downfall. As Plato wrote, the Atlanteans became consumed by their own greatness and their lust for power and wealth, and they were eventually punished by the gods. In a single night, the island was swallowed by the sea, and all trace of its people and their advanced culture was lost. Now, most historians agree that Atlantis, as described by Plato, was likely a work of fiction. He was known for his philosophical writings and his use of allegory and symbolism. And many scholars believe that Atlantis was simply a metaphor for the dangers of unchecked ambition. But others aren't so sure. They argue that Plato's description of Atlantis is just that, a description of a real place that existed long before his time. It's just that over the centuries, the details of the story have become muddled and distorted, until it has become the fantastical tale we know today. But if Atlantis was real, then where exactly is it? Well, that's the million-dollar question, literally. There have been countless theories over the years, each with its own merits. Some believe that Atlantis was located in the Mediterranean Sea, perhaps off the coast of Greece or Italy. Others think it was in the Caribbean, near the coast of Florida or the Bahamas. And then there are those who believe that Atlantis was actually in Antarctica, hidden beneath the ice sheet at the bottom of the world. One of the most popular theories is that Atlantis was located in the Mediterranean Sea. This theory is based on Plato's description of Atlantis as being located in the Atlantic Ocean. However, many scholars argue that this doesn't necessarily mean the Atlantic Ocean as we know it today. In ancient times, the Mediterranean Sea was often referred to as the Atlantic, so it's possible that Plato was referring to that body of water instead. If this is true, then Atlantis could be anywhere in the Mediterranean, and there are several places that fit Plato's description. For example, there is the island of Thera, which is now known as Santorini. Thera is a volcanic island that was destroyed in a massive eruption around 1600 BC. The eruption was so powerful that it may have caused a tsunami that could have potentially destroyed other civilizations on the surrounding islands. Could this be the catastrophic event that Plato was describing when he wrote about the fall of Atlantis? Another possibility is the island of Crete. The Minoan civilization flourished on Crete from around 2700 BC until 1450 BC. The Minoans were a highly advanced society for their time. They had a sophisticated system of writing, a complex legal code, and a thriving economy based on trade. However, their civilization was brought to an end by a series of volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. Could the Minoans have been the Atlanteans? But what evidence do we have that either of these places really was Atlantis? Well, not much, unfortunately. The truth is, we don't have any concrete proof that Atlantis existed at all, let alone where it might have been located. Much of what we know comes from Plato's writings, but as we mentioned earlier, he was a philosopher, not a historian. Plus, his writings are often allegorical and symbolic, so it's hard to separate fact from fiction. We also have to consider the fact that the ancient world was a very different place than it is now. The seas and coastlines have changed dramatically over the centuries, so even if Atlantis was real and it was located somewhere in the Mediterranean, it could be somewhere else entirely now. That being said, there are some tantalizing possibilities out there. For example, there is the possibility that Plato's description of Atlantis was based on a real place that existed long before his time. Perhaps it was a highly advanced civilization that was destroyed by natural disaster. Or perhaps it was simply a prosperous trading port that was lost to time. Either way, there is no doubt that Atlantis has captured the imagination of people for centuries. And there are plenty of people out there who are convinced that it really did exist. Of course, there is also the possibility that Atlantis was nothing more than a figment of Plato's imagination. After all, he was known for his philosophical writings and his use of allegory and symbolism. And it's possible that Atlantis was simply a metaphor for the dangers of unchecked ambition. But what do you think? Where was Atlantis? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. We've been exploring the mysteries of the past for the past few years, and we've got no plans of stopping anytime soon. So if you love learning about history and archaeology, then be sure to stick around. You won't regret it. Another theory is that Atlantis was located in the Atlantic Ocean, off the coast of what is now Florida, or the Bahamas. This theory is based on the fact that Plato described Atlantis as being located in the Atlantic Ocean, and it seems unlikely that he would have been mistaken about such a basic fact. Additionally, there are similarities between the description of Atlantis and the history of the indigenous peoples of the Bahamas. For example, both cultures are said to have had a deep understanding of the natural world around them, and they were both highly advanced for their time. Additionally, the Bahamian Islands were largely destroyed by a hurricane in the year 1380, which could have been the catastrophic event that Plato was referring to. Finally, there is the theory that Atlantis was located in Antarctica. This theory is based on the belief that the continent of Antarctica was once inhabited by a highly advanced civilization that was destroyed by the changing climate. Proponents of this theory point to the fact that Plato described Atlantis as being a land of both summer and winter, which could be interpreted as a reference to the extreme cold of Antarctica. Additionally, there are similarities between the description of Atlantis and the indigenous cultures of the Antarctic. For example, both cultures are said to have been highly spiritual, and they both had a deep respect for the natural world around them. Adityonaji, the Antarctic, was largely covered in ice sheets around 3000 BC, which could have been the catastrophic event that Plato was referring to. But even if Atlantis was real, why does it matter? Why do we care so much about finding this mythical place? Well, the truth is that Atlantis represents something more than just a lost civilization. It represents the potential for human greatness. If the Atlanteans were able to achieve such a high level of wisdom and enlightenment, then surely we can too. By studying the history of Atlantis, we can learn about the potential for human greatness and the dangers of unchecked ambition. Atlantis continues to captivate our imaginations because it represents the best and worst of humanity. It's a reminder that we can accomplish great things when we work together, but also that we can destroy ourselves when we let our ambitions get the better of us. Ultimately, whether or not Atlantis ever existed, the story of Atlantis is an important one. It's a story about the potential for human greatness and the dangers of unchecked ambition. It's a story that we need to hear today as much as ever before. So what do you think? Where was Atlantis? Do you believe that it ever existed? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.